Hey guys, what's up? It's JayzTwoCents, and as I promised, I'm bringing you my iPhone 5 review. I'd kind of hoped to do an iPhone 5 versus the Galaxy S3, but I gotta share a little bit of news with you here. At work on Friday, I went to pick up my Galaxy and the screen wouldn't turn on. And I pulled the battery out and stuck it back in and did the normal Android thing, and it wouldn't turn on. So thinking that the battery was dead, I plugged it in, and I didn't get a little red light saying that it was charging. So it turns out the phone died. It's not even a month old. And I honestly don't have anything against Android. I used Android for 2 years before I ever had an iPhone. But these are the kind of things that have just always turned me off about it. And I've already kind of commented on the iPhone 5 in Friday's Tech Addiction. It was a little mini review, and I said that going from the 4S to the 5 was a minimal upgrade, and I didn't feel that it was a worthwhile upgrade for many people. However, I started getting a lot of messages from people saying that they have a 4. So is it worth it to go from the 4 to the 5? So that got me thinking. Instead of just doing a 4S versus a 5, why don't we just go ahead and do all three? When it comes to dimensions here, the 4 and the 4S, they're identical. They're exactly the same. They use the exact same body. And so when it comes to hardware, there's the A4 chip inside of the 4, there's the A5 chip inside of the 4S, which is a dual core, and there's the A6 inside of the iPhone 5. Now the iPhone 5, they redesigned the back here. As you can see on these are this is solid glass on the back, and a lot of people were having breakage issues by dropping their phones and such. So what they did was they came out with this aluminum backing here, and it's aluminum on the side. It's all unibody, so the back, the sides, the top, and the frame are all aluminum, and they have this glass on the top and the bottom. And the reason why they have that glass there is the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth antenna are at the top and the bottom, and Apple claims that they needed the glass there to get a better signal going out of the phone. Otherwise, aluminum could have, reduced the signal strength on that. The iPhone 4S here has a VGA front-facing camera. Same thing with the I don't get all mixed up here. Same thing with the iPhone 4. It's got a VGA front-facing camera. The iPhone 4 on the back has a 720p or 5 megapixel camera, where the 4S, they bumped it up to an 8 megapixel 1080p. However, on the iPhone 5, it is still a 1080p camera, but they've made a couple of improvements to it where now it can go much lower on an f-stop, which means it's got much better low light capabilities. And they went with the sapphire crystal cover compared to the glass on the iPhone 4S and the iPhone 4. So they claim to get much better image quality with that, and I have to agree with that. I think the images have been very clear. On the front though, however, they bumped it up to a 720p front-facing camera, and you have to forgive me, I don't know the actual megapixel, I forgot. I think it's a 5 megapixel. If I'm wrong, put it down in the comments, please. But aesthetically, since it's aluminum versus the steel of the iPhone 4S here, it is much, much lighter. And it took me a couple of days to get used to the new weight, because I felt that it was very, it felt brittle to me. But after getting used to it, it feels nice and solid here. I don't feel like I'm gonna drop it in, it's gonna shatter into a million pieces. And one other thing that they changed here on the bottom, as you can see, they have put the new lightning connector, and they moved the headphone jack to the bottom. And this speaker is much louder. I think the volume of it is much louder, much clearer. So, but one of the things that people were complaining about with the iPhone 5 from the factory is, factory scratching. And one of the reasons why I went with the white was because I didn't want to have, if you have an anodized black here, you scratch that, you're going to have the bare color aluminum showing through the bottom or through the scratch, and so it's going to stand out a lot more. So I went with white. And there was complaints that the iPhone was coming from the factory scratched. So I figured if I went with the white and the bare, that it wouldn't show up so bad, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten factory scratching. However, I've got some scratches along the top here where the glass and the aluminum meet. I've got some in the bottom right here on the right, which are kind of difficult to see in the video, but I will put up some high quality pictures. And on the bottom right here, right there by my thumb, you see that nick in the polished portion right there? It may not show up too good here on YouTube, but high quality photos and links to the photos will be down in the description there. That's the way this came from the factory. So, you know, that's a gripe I have regarding the iPhone 5 is, you know, the thing comes pre-scratched, which is very annoying. But when it comes to performance now, that's what we really care about. You know, aesthetics are nice, but how does it perform? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and do a boot test on the phones. I'm gonna put the 4 and the 4S together because it's kind of hard to hit 3 power buttons at the same time. And I'm gonna do this as best as I can. So we're gonna count to 3 here. 1, 2, 3. Holding down the buttons. Got some Apple logos, and let's see how these do on the boot times here. I think it's pretty obvious that the iPhone 4 is going to lose, but it's the iPhone 5 compared to the iPhone 4S. Apple's claiming that there's 2 times performance of the iPhone 5 versus the iPhone 4S with the A6 processor, so let's see if that holds out to be true or not. And there you go, the iPhone 5's up, the iPhone 4S is up, and the iPhone 4 is still looking for directions, I think. I think it got lost along the way. But let's see just how much difference we've got there. And if you've got an iPhone 4, as you can see, an iPhone 4, and there we go. Okay guys, so we're gonna go ahead and do a speed test here. I loaded speed test on all 3 of these. These are connected to the same Wi-Fi right now, so what I wanna compare is the modem in the 4 to the 4S to the 5. And I think you'll be surprised to see that there's gonna probably be some variance in speed between these 3. So just to show there's no other apps running, I'll bring up the Task Manager on both. All are empty here. Away, iPhone 4 thingy. Alright, speed test. Are you serious? I don't have speed test loaded on the 4S. Fail! Fail! And through the magic of editing, we now have speed test installed on the 4S. So let's go ahead and run individual tests now and see how those do. We'll do the 4 first. Alright, so we just ran all 3 individually. The iPhone 4 got a 31 ping, 20.56 down, 5.17 up. 4S, 23 ping, 25 even down, 5.14 up. So it's 5 megabits. So it's 5 megabits faster than the 4, but the upload was identical. Interestingly enough, the iPhone 5 loses 10.55 down, 4.96 up. So I'm going to restart this test one more time. So there you go. The 5 on Wi-Fi is significantly slower. I mean, it's less than half the speed of a 4S on Wi-Fi. So go figure on that one. It's awfully disappointing. Okay, so the download test on Wi-Fi had me perplexed, and that was really bothering me. So I went and found out what was going on with my phone here, and it turns out that I had an iCloud sync running at the exact same time. So it had limited bandwidth available to the phone to run this test. So as you can see right here, I ran it again. I got a 20.57. So we'll go ahead and run this one more time now just to see if the results are, yeah, as you can see right there now, we're hitting, yeah, 27.72 and just under 5 up. So, okay, that's much better because I was really worried there for a second. So there you go. If you're having some slow download speeds on your iPhone, maybe check iCloud. Make sure it's not constantly backing up. A lot of people have complained that iCloud has been eating up a lot of their data. So definitely check that out. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and run a cellular network test. All right, so now all 3 have found a server. We'll go ahead and start all 3 of these and let these go off to the races. Obviously, 3G connection in this area is pretty poor. Then again, Verizon's never been known for having very quick internet here. So the 5 is done, so we'll take a look at that. We've got 36 ping, 8.62 down, 3.45 up. That's a little bit below average. I typically see more than 10. The 3G on Verizon here, 91 ping, 0.08 down, 0.18 up. And the iPhone 4, 112 ping, 0.07 down, 0.22 up. That's disappointing no matter how you cut it. So let's see if we can improve this iPhone 5 score at all. Okay, so we just reran the iPhone 5. We got a little bit more on the down, but the up went down. So, but anyway, 4G is really awesome. I really like the 4G, which was one of the main reasons why I wanted to upgrade this device, because I'm always on the internet and I wanted the speed. Alright, so I've got all three of these devices back on Wi-Fi here. As you can see in the task manager, we have no applications currently running. And what I want to do now is I want to do an application launch test to see who can open up the applications faster. And I'm expecting the iPhone 5 to win this one here because it does have the fastest processor. Let's see if I can do this here all synchronized, because this is not easy. 1, 2, 3. The iPhone 4 has a brighter screen, I just want to point out, because it does have the brightness turned up. iPhone 5 is loaded, iPhone 4S right behind within, geez, a quarter second if that, and the iPhone 4 is still thinking. And we're loaded. So as you can see here, these two are very close, although they are both dual core and they're only within a couple hundred megahertz of each other, so this isn't, this isn't too different. Alright guys, so there you have it. Did a couple of tests there so you can see how the 4 compares to the 4S versus the 5. And there's not much of a difference between the 4S and the 5. There's a huge difference between the 4 and the 4S, and then a little bit more between the 4 and the 5 than these two. But the question is, if you own one of these, is this bad boy worth it? That's a hard one to answer. It really is, because 4G is the major improvement between the 4S and the 5. And I am always on the internet. I love the 4G, but it's not available everywhere. Fortunately, I live in an area where 4G is pretty much all around. I mean, I am in the LA area. 4G, was rolled out here first, and in the suburbs where I am, it became, pretty popular. I'm very rarely without 4G. As you can see, though, on Verizon anyway, the 3G speeds are very lackluster. Applications open faster on the 5, barely faster than the 4S. If you have a 4, though, I would probably recommend that if you're not interested in 4G or you're on a limited data plan, I would maybe save the money and go with the 4S, because the bigger screen is nice. Some people don't like the aesthetics, though, of the aluminum back with the, white at the top, or the slate with the black. But with the 4S, you're getting, 95% of the features that were, rolled out in iOS 6 are available in the 4S. You've got the new Maps app, which is kind of a joke in itself, but it will get better. You've got Siri here, you don't have Siri here, you don't have the new Maps here. A lot of the functions of iOS 6 are locked on the iPhone 4. If you have a 3GS, it's a no-brainer, obviously. You might as well just go straight for the 5 because it's a huge jump. But, you really got to ask yourself if the features that come in the 5 are worth it. If you don't care about 4G, you don't care about the bigger screen, I would recommend saving some money and getting a 4S, or maybe getting a bigger capacity than you would have with the 5. You can get a 32 gig 4S now for $199. My wife is really torn on whether or not she wants to get a 5 because she doesn't like the look of the phone. She doesn't like the aluminum. The aluminum bugs her. She likes a solid color back. So, I mean, she could get a case that would cover all that, and she probably will, but, that's a demon in her she's got to deal with on whether or not she wants to upgrade. And if you've got an iPhone 4, I say go with the 4S, honestly. The 5 is a solid phone. I am fairly happy with it, but it's just interesting for them to claim that it's the biggest thing to happen to iPhone since iPhone. That's their ad. It really, the contrast between these two is not very great. Alright guys, so that's been my 2 cents regarding the iPhone 5 versus the 4S versus the 4. I hope you found it informative. I hope you guys are checking out Tech Addiction. It's a series I put up every single Friday where I talk about cool and bizarre things in the world of technology, as well as some of the stupid people who you find in the world of technology. And as always, be sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter for the latest news on what I'm doing on YouTube.